All right, welcome to my channel. This is going to be hopefully a very quick video on Friedrich Nietzsche or Nietzsche. I don't know how you say it. I'm not a professor, but I just wanted to talk about my experience real quick of reading through Nietzsche. And I haven't completed yet, but I wanted to say for those that are interested, where to start. And you could go through it the way that I did. Okay, so Nietzsche books. If you want to read through and see the development of his thought, you can read them in sequential order. Now, I haven't read The Birth of Tragedy, but I started with Human All Too Human, and then I read Daybreak. Now, the drawback of these is that these are Nietzsche's early thoughts, where he doesn't have his philosophy like figured out yet. So you're not really going to see will to power in here, or his the famous quote that he's famous for, the aphorism "God is dead." Okay, that comes up in the Joyous Science, which would be next, and then that would be followed by Thus Spoke Zarathustra. Okay, we're going in order. Then you get Beyond Good and Evil, and then next is On the Genealogy of Morals, and then you finish off with Twilight of the Idols and the Antichrist. And then there's another book after this, which is Ecce Homo, which I have not read yet. I do plan on reading it. And then there is, of course, Will to Power, which is another book, which don't recommend starting there because from what I've heard, I haven't read it myself, it's a collection of notes that was compiled after Nietzsche had died and was published by his sister. So definitely not the best place to start. Now, I would not recommend starting with Thus Spoke Zarathustra. I don't think this is a good place to start because this is allegorical and it's really gonna, I don't even know how you would understand it, honestly, if you hadn't read any of Nietzsche prior to that. Okay, so I would say at least read The Joyous Science before you read Zarathustra at a minimum. But where I would recommend starting is probably, having just read it, I would recommend starting with Twilight of the Idols, reading that first. And then I would recommend reading On the Genealogy of Morals, because there's 3 essays in here. They're not aphoristic. As far as Nietzsche's like understanding him goes, like this is probably the most accessible. He just lays it out. He doesn't like code anything. There's not a bunch of like poetry and stuff in here. So it's pretty straightforward. So I recommend, yeah, starting with Twilight of the Idols, then reading On the Genealogy of Morals. Then I would say probably read Beyond Good and Evil after that. Again, this is kind of like touching on a lot of the same stuff that's in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, but it's much easier to understand than Zarathustra. I'm not saying don't read Zarathustra. If you want to read it, read it. I just don't know how you'll understand it. Like, I have no idea how you would understand it. So, again, I would recommend Twilight of the Idols, Genealogy of Morals, then Beyond Good and Evil, then I would probably recommend The Joyous Science next after those. Then I would say read Zarathustra. Human All Too Human, Dawn of Day really are, if you want to be a completionist and still read these, you should, but I don't think that they are as important to understanding Thus Spake Zarathustra as these other things are. And I do recommend like some secondary literature or something. You want a biography? Okay, there is a series of lectures that was done. There's 24 lectures on Nietzsche that were done by Professor Robert C. Solomon and his wife, Professor Kathleen Higgins, who is also a Nietzsche scholar. 24 lectures. They're each about a half hour long. I will link the playlist for those in the description box. In case YouTube deletes these and you can't find them anymore, I would recommend some other secondary literature. Now, these are the Penguin Classics that I have here. I don't necessarily know that I would buy these again. There is a series of translations that were done by Walter Kaufmann, who has done, he's a Nietzsche translator, as in addition to being a philosopher himself. So I'd recommend probably getting those Walter Kaufmann translations instead of getting the Penguin Classics like I did. I may still pick them up. I don't know. But the great thing is Walter Kaufmann has also done a biography on Nietzsche. So you may want to check into Nietzsche's biography, although Professor Solomon and Kathleen Higgins here, these two professors, are going to touch on his background. But I guess that's it. That's really all I have. Nietzsche died in 1900. He went insane in 1889, shortly after publishing Twilight of the Idols. And he had already written The Antichrist, but that wasn't published until later. So, and then Ecce Homo wasn't published until 1908. I'm not sure when Will to Power was published, but yeah, it's also posthumously published. So I guess that's all I really got for you. Just my recommendations. You don't have to listen to me. That's just what I recommend, having read through this stuff. So thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day.